Welcome to the Literally First Class podcast, where I will teach you how to overcome anxiety and achieve somatic success. I'm your host, Carrie Ford. I'm a somatic success and holistic life coach here to bring humor, insight, and wisdom to the modern day woman that wants to feel alive in her daily life. You ready? Come on, I saved you a seat in first class. So I want to talk to you today about something that came up in a conversation with Jake and I over the weekend. And it was a conversation around hobbies. So Jake has been spending a lot of time really cultivating his hobbies. He's into cooking. I get to reap the benefits of that because, trust me, you don't want anything I've cooked. He's into golfing. He's into travel. He's into a lot of different things. And one thing I really love about Jake and our relationship is how much he brings out this inner child-like wonderment in me. And those of you that are familiar with the Enneagram, Jake is a 7, which is the enthusiast, and I am a 1, which is the perfectionist. Now, in growth, I go to 7. And so what growth looks like for me is being spontaneous, letting my hair down, having fun, which is what this whole podcast is about. And so when he asked me the question over the weekend, it was pretty interesting. He asked me, so what are your hobbies? Now, mind you, Jake and I have been together for almost 2.5 years now. And I was like, what do you mean, what are my hobbies? I have so many hobbies, like listening to music. I like painting, watching movies, all the weird introvert things, right? Generally, my rejuvenating time has been spent alone doing most of these things. And I was like, I like traveling. I like going to new restaurants. And he starts laughing at me. He goes, those are not hobbies. And I'm like, well, yeah, painting is a hobby. Except he's like, when's the last time you painted? I think I've painted once in the past year. But here's what I recognized about myself. And you know, those of you that are also the classic overachievers might resonate with this. Anytime I've had a passion or a hobby, I've turned it into something that has, been designed to make money. And I'll use the example of fitness. So long ago, maybe some of you have been with me for that long, but long ago, back when I started as a coach, I was a personal trainer on the gym floor in Hollywood, California. And prior to even getting certified as a trainer, I got really into working out. I had always been somewhat active, right? I was a gymnast. I was a ballerina. I've always loved fitness and I've always loved being active. But I decided to take my passion and my hobby of working out and, really enjoying spin classes and put it into purpose. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, except if you have a pattern of doing that all the time with everything. In fact, it's been some of my greatest work to just sit with learnings, to sit with lessons, instead of going right into how can I purpose this? Because I notice it still show up sometimes. So that brings me to the definition of play. Play is literally defined by doing something that has no desired or attachment to outcome. I think about my daughter doing cartwheels through the front lawn, or my son learning how to do flips. They're just simply doing the thing for the enjoyment of the action itself. There's no goal. There's no how can I make money from this? There's no purpose necessarily other than to just be in that present moment and to have fun, to play. And so I was sitting there and I'll admit, I got a little bit triggered when he started pressing in because I'm like, I am interesting and I do have hobbies, but I've noticed where I've edited myself and I haven't allowed myself to have these hobbies because I'm scared I'm going to take it all the way to the umpteenth degree again. I don't want to purpose everything, just like I don't paint right now because, again, I painted maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, but I don't paint right now because what am I going to do with the painting? In the past, I actually have a BFA, having gone to art school, you painted for a purpose. You painted to get graded on the painting. It was maybe you hung it in your house. Like What am I going to do with this painting? Surely I can't just paint to paint. But then I'm missing the whole point entirely of having and exploring and playing with a hobby. So then I sat with, okay, well, what is a hobby then? And why am I not actively pursuing these things? So let's just say I can paint to paint and there is no outcome that I have to arrive at. So I came up with 3 different things that I feel a hobby gets to be. And, this is just for encouragement for you guys to explore what this is for you. So the 3 things I came up with, and I wrote these down, are that a hobby has no required outcome, right? You're just simply doing it for the pure joy of doing whatever that thing is. Right, for Jake, it's golf, it's cooking. For me, I'm going to use painting because that seems to be a theme somewhere I've gone back to that time and again throughout my whole life. I always have loved painting. Number 2, it feels life-giving. It's truly rejuvenating. And then the last one is it brings a sense of childlike wonderment where time disappears. So I just lose track of time. I could be painting for an hour or 4 and I probably would have no idea, in the same way that I imagine Jake with cooking or golfing is kind of similar. So if those are your 3 criteria for meeting, the description of a hobby, what are those hobbies for you? And I think that's really interesting. So I'm going to go off on a little side tangent here around the second item, which is it feels life-giving. Because I had a client a couple weeks ago and she said, so I'm trying to rest and I'm trying to relax and just be present and enjoy time off of work. But then what do I do? How do I do that? She goes, I feel like if I'm sitting on the couch, it's like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop or someone's going to walk in and be like, what are you doing? And I'm going to get in trouble. So I see this theme a lot with clients that I work with, and I've noticed it in a previous version of myself, which is it almost feels wrong to rest. It almost doesn't feel like it's important enough to be a priority. And there's a parallel there I want you to note around hobbies, right? Right now I'm supporting everybody in my family's hobbies. I'm supporting, I'll be with the kids while Jake goes to play golf, or I'm taking my son to soccer, or I'm packing my daughter's dance bag. But what about me and my hobbies? What about my pursuit of play? And then the other part of that is around rest and rejuvenation. The thing about a hobby and about play is that it's life-giving. It's not postured rest. So how do we know what postured rest is? So I would describe postured rest as things that look like they are restful, but they are not actually rejuvenating and life-giving to you. So an example would be you sitting on the couch, not doing work, or being present in the moment. However, you're scrolling on social media or you're tuning out. It's just a different avoidant strategy rather than something that pours into you and your expression and your essence. Truly, again, this childlike wonderment. So postured rest looks like rest, but it's not in fact restful. Something that's actually restful is rejuvenating and life-giving. And I'll ask myself this because I like watching movies, and there was a period of time I gave up TV for about 2 or 3 years. That felt really life-giving to me, I will be honest, to give up TV. Because I found that it was a default way that I was doing postured rest. I was acting as if I was resting, but when I asked myself the question, do I feel better after I watch TV, or do I feel more drained? The answer was, I feel more drained, actually. I feel the same or I feel drained. So I'm not actually nourishing, pouring into myself, or playing. It was not life-giving. It wasn't curious. It had no wonderment attached to it. It was simply a different avoidant and numbing strategy and technique to escape the present moment, but it looked like I was in the present moment because I was sitting still. Does that make sense? So those of us that are, again, the high performance women that struggle potentially with anxiety being the driver, right? This underlying anxiety of, I've got to keep doing something, including when I'm resting, I need to do something. What does it look like if we just let go? of what it looks like and instead explore how it feels. And we play with that. So my goal is to sit and really journal around these questions or these bullets that I gave you guys, right? And to recap, it's that it has no required outcome. There's no goal. You're not allowed to have a goal with this. It's simply just the act of doing it. That it feels life-giving. Truly, you feel rejuvenated doing it or exploring it or being curious with it. And that it brings a sense of this childlike wonderment where time simply gets lost. So I'm excited I think Jake and I are going to explore this topic next week, actually, on the podcast. I'm going to bring him on and dialogue a little bit because it's been so interesting where I have not been so quick to speak up for my needs and my desires to explore hobbies because it's often felt like who has time for play is a luxury, or that's the last priority because everything else has seemingly been more important. Obviously, work, serving clients, those are all the have-tos, showing up for all that stuff, showing up for my kids, everyone else getting to do their things. And so this has historically been a place within me that has not spoken up for my needs. But the trickiest thing is that I don't even recognize I do it sometimes because I've been so used to suppressing having a need. It actually has felt hard to connect to having one at all. So practicing speaking up, voicing our needs, connecting to what those are, and then allowing it to express through a hobby. I think that's so interesting. So I get to go paint. I get to go explore my hobbies and maybe even discover a few, because if I really let go of the outcome, I'm curious what I might be drawn to do. I mean, speaking Italian is something I've wanted to do. Surely the outcome is being able to speak another language so that when I go to Italy, I can speak the native tongue, but the learning of that is the most intriguing part. And so again, if I can just explore and play in the space of having something new or exciting or life-giving, what does that feel like? And what does that look like? So let me know what your hobbies are and what you guys basically arrive at. You guys can share this episode with me anytime. You can repost it on Instagram. Tag me, I'll repost you, and let me know what your hobbies are. I'm curious, and you give yourself permission to play what really comes through. I hope you enjoyed your flight, and I'll see you on board again soon. Seriously though, thanks for listening. If you're ready to take this work deeper and upgrade your mind, I want to invite you to join us inside my Millionaire Mindset program. This is where you'll start using my guided meditations to help you overcome anxiety and experience even more abundance. When you join, you'll have access to my entire audio library. Head over to elevatewithcarrie.com and we'll see you inside.